time to strap in and get ready.
The leaders in NRL Supercoach are incoming. Bringing you the ultimate insight to help you win your leagues and climb up the rankings.
You're now listening to the Insight NRL Show with your hosts, Braino Mattrix and Whisperer.
G'day guys, welcome back to another Insight NRL show. I am the Supercoach Brain and I'm joined as always by my co-host, the Supercoach Mattrix. Mate, round 24, we're into the prelim finals for head-to-head and we've got, 4 rounds to go, including this round. So we're getting into the nitty-gritty of things.
Yeah, I looked at the team list and I didn't see a lot of Supercoach relevant things, but we will help you with some of the matchups, I suppose, today. And I reckon start sit. This is definitely the hardest week.
For sure. I think a lot of the questions are going to come from start sit this week. We should hopefully have most of our teams solidified and our teams are set. We didn't get hit with too much injury carnage from well-owned players last week either, so that kind of helps. But yeah, obviously there are some players in the extended benches this week, so it could throw out a few plans for those of you that got on pods. We'll talk about the changes throughout the podcast tonight. But guys, of course, we're live, so get your questions in. We started to star a few good ones already. And mate, the most important question of the night from Melissa Hanson kicking things off. How did you go at basketball tonight? Did you foul out?
No, didn't foul out. Played about 38 and a half minutes. Got a short rest at the end of the third. 8 points, I would say, running the point. I don't actually know how many assists I've got till the scorekeeper goes through and adds them. But I do have about 14 assists in the last 2 weeks, and I reckon I probably beat that 4 assists today. I reckon I probably had, let's say, 8 and 6. Fair few rebounds in there. Didn't foul too much. I fouled in the first 4 seconds. I just axed this poor kid.
I saw you send us a video in the chat the other week of you just absolutely mauling some bloke on a foul, which is fantastic. And I've heard you're one of the better trash talkers. We might have to save that for another night, but I'm sure people can imagine what kind of chat would be going on from Matrix on the call.
My trash talk game is a lot better than my actual basketball game. I'll tell you that for free.
So you're a bit of Pat Beverly about you then.
Yeah, something like that. You should see when I win B grade, I'm up there on the chairs like this too, like him taking my shirt off. It's exciting.
Yeah, I love it. Very good. One thing we won't do on this podcast is take our shirt off, but we will have a chat about the week. And first of all, let's kick things off by talking about last week, mate. How did you end up at the end? 1267.
Yeah, 1267, downgraded a bit, had some big upgrades and some big downgrades as well. So it was a bit all over the shop just to land in exactly the same spot that I was on Sunday. Good enough for 500 green arrows in a week where, I know I keep harping on about this, where I held Dom Young, held Joey Manu, held Angus Crichton, and held James Tedesco. So it was one where I probably expected to lose 1,000 places, and I've made up 500 places. So, yeah, that felt good. Tickled my my gonads there. Loved it.
Love that. I just realised I got my score wrong. I got 1188, not 1088, thank God. But I went backwards 400. I think got 400 red arrows, so 2,051 totally ranked at the moment, which I feel like I'm still in striking distance of the top 1K. I think I'm about 350 out now, so still can be done. Funny game, isn't it? I think anybody who comes into round 26, 27 with some trades up their sleeve is going to be in a pretty good spot to see some green arrows the final fortnight and hopefully win their comps. So
yeah, definitely win your comps. But for those thinking that they're, like, I heard somebody talking about it, I don't know, it was in passing at Touch Footy or something, and they were saying like, oh, I'm going to hold some trades so that I'm really set up for round 27. Well, he was sitting about 10,000th. I think you're better off having a little bit of attack so that you've got those really good players for a few more weeks as well. Don't unless it's for head-to-head orientation, don't be holding off thinking you're going to move up 5,000 ranks in the last. Because, what are you going to get? An extra best case scenario, you use 2 trades and a boost. You make up 300 points. You could use these players to get yourself some more points right now.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. If you hold off on these trades and you let 50 to 60 points go by for the next 3 to 4 weeks, and then you get to round 27, you're down 180 points and you make that back up, you're kind of at the same point, really. So, there's no point sacrificing points along the way just to save trades for round 27, because you might get a feel good 1,000 rank, but you would have lost that 1,000 over the next 3 weeks anyway.
Yep, with you.
Guys, don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you do like the content as well. We would really appreciate that. For you audio listeners on Apple or Spotify, if you want to look at our beautiful heads, you can come over to YouTube. But if you like the audio so much, which, look, I don't blame you. We've got heads for radio. You can hit that follow button. And, speak for myself. Hit the follow button and leave a review. Mate, what's the sliding doors moment from last week? What's the one move that could have changed everything for you?
Oof. Look, probably just bringing in Cam Munster a couple of weeks ago. It just wasn't the right move. He was cheap. If I'd looked ahead to matchups like this one, I'm probably not even going to play him this week against the Panthers. Brought him in 2 weeks ago for a 60 and a 49. I probably just could have got that from basically anyone. I'm sitting here with 280K in the bank, 2 trades left. I'm going to hold fire this week. I should have just got a better 5/8, basically, or a team with a better draw with better form.
Super hard to go against Cam Munster, though, because that was not a form pick. That was you're picking a bloke off 2 pretty severe injuries, right? So he's had a lot of time off, but he's so fucking cheap. We're talking about Cameron Munster. We're not talking about you're not talking about a subpar 5/8. You're talking about probably one of the best 5/8s in the game. So it was worth a punt that just didn't pay off.
Yeah, exactly. And look, sliding doors, wish I didn't do it. Would I do it all over again? I got on him the 600K week, knowing that I had some money in the bank, and I was just like, everybody's going to bring him in if he scores 100 this week. I'm going to get an advantage in points. Just didn't pan out. It wasn't a disaster by any stretch of the imagination. I just probably could have done more and saved that trade or got someone else.
Yeah, that's fair enough. My sliding doors moment was definitely captaining Greg Marju and not backing Tom Trebojevic. That cost me about 170 points. So that cost me a 1350 week. Would have got the crown, but Josh gets the crown this week as well. I think he finished on 1280, 1285 or something like that. So he gets the crown.
Doesn't count. He's not here.
Yeah.
Doesn't count. He's not here. I'll take the crown. Thanks.
Okay, you can have the crown.
Got it.
Yeah, you got your beer crown on. Love that. That's plenty more where they came from, I'm sure. But that was the difference for me this week. And I look at my squad, and I'm actually really happy with how the majority of my players played. Like, I got my start sits right. I got every single start sit right. So like everything else I got fine, and the captaincy move cost me a decent score this week. But that's okay. It is what it is. Before we jump into things, mate, we've got a fair bit going on with the NBA boys at the moment. I think they're either live right now or just finished live. And they've put a bit of time in the background, Matty, and you're one of them, to put together a bit of a draft board. Do you want to give everybody a bit of a rundown for those basketball heads out there?
Yeah, basically, I do it every year. I go really well in my NBA. Basketball is probably my sport of choice, definitely when it comes to playing, and I just understand it really well. I get to, of course, do the NBL show and understand the NBA, and I just love it. So I've ranked my top 200 players. I've went through, I've made little notes on all the ones that had the big changes, and then our other NBA experts were there as well. So we've actually created a consensus board, which was probably the best thing of all. So you get 4 different analysts' opinion, and it evens them out amongst all of us, probably to get you the most comprehensive draft board out there, really. Rather than getting one person's opinion, you're getting 4 people's opinion. We've got it up on our Patreon at the moment. I know the boys have been doing a lot of work in the background. They can answer your questions during the season and everything. If that's something you want, I'll be in there. I can answer some questions as well if you need. But yeah, look, NBA season is sneaking up now that the Olympics is over, now that Summer League's over. I, being on paternity leave, got to watch basically all the Olympics. most of the summer league. I even watched the preseason NFL this year. I have been on an absolute sporting tear. So this is the year to follow me in not just NRL, in NFL and NBA as well.
Happy days. Can you remind me very quickly who won our local kind of a little group Molten NBA fantasy basketball competition? Who was that again?
I can't remember. It was just, a blip in my radar. That small little thing. You only remember your wins, really. But I believe it was our resident Atlanta Hawks fan over here beside me. So
yes, it was. I did. Thank you for the shout out. I did win that one. It was pretty close actually. I'm not going to talk about that all night. But yeah, I think I know something about NBA. Let's just say that. Mate, but people aren't here to listen to us talk and ramble about the Atlanta Hawks and the NBA. They're here to listen to the injuries for the week. So let's tackle those. HIAs to kick things off, mate. Jordan Rapana, he will not play this week with a HIA for the Raiders. Jeremiah Nanai, Mark Nichols for the Dolphins, and Ali Leotawa for the Raiders. All won't be suiting up this week due to HIA, so they'll go into the 11-day mandatory stand-down. Who's the first tab off the rank here, mate?
Fuck off. Reece Walsh has fractured his hand 3 to 4 weeks. I believe they're going to be chatting to specialists about, I think they said the metacarpal. I'm not really anyone there, but they're going to have a chat to the surgeon and basically work out whether it's time to shut down the season. And where the Broncos are sitting, I would not be surprised.
It's tough. 3 to 4 weeks, I think, is the normal recovery time for that injury. Fractured hand, in simple words. So, I would say, I mean, look, and there's also word that Payne Haas has gone down the non-injury route. So, not the non-surgical route. So they're going to look to avoid surgery for now. And there's every chance he could be ready for round 26, 27. But, I'm not waiting that long for one. There's no point in holding a guy through your head-to-head finals for that long. But also, I mean, look, the Broncos, if they lose one more game, they're completely dusted. So, the big M word, mathematically possible to still make the 8 if a lot of other results go their way. But for me, I think I'd bail on Haas pretty quickly. And I'd assume most people did last week.
Do you know what is the funny thing? The two teams that I offend the most, the Dragons and the Dolphins, are the guys that we actually need to lose for the Broncos to make it. So, just keep doing what you're doing, guys. Sucking year on, year out. Love it. Get us home.
Absolutely. If I said Ali Leotawa for the Raiders, I apologise. It's for the Warriors, of course. Hame Sele was an interesting one. We didn't mention him on Sunday, mate, but went off the field after 22 minutes. Chest pains, they originally said that I think it was shortness of breath and things like that.
They said a regular heartbeat. Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently it comes back that it wasn't that. It was just shortness of breath and chest pains when he came off. Obviously went to hospital, but he could walk to the ambulance, so he wasn't obviously in all sorts. But the technical term apparently is pericardial effusion. So basically there's a little sac of fluid next to the heart there, and it sometimes affects the rate that it beats. So apparently that's the word that's come back for Hame Sele. So hopefully he's all good and on the mend. But it doesn't really make sense to be taking any risks with heart-based stuff at this time of the season, does it?
Nah, not with the way they've been going either, unfortunately. He was in my first draft to start. I was a bit excited about Sele, but not to be. Josh absolutely ripped me a new one about Sele. But anyway, we can have a look at our ranks and move on and have a laugh about it. Aiden Caesar with his knee is out, mate. He was named, but he's in doubt, hey?
Yes, weird, because he came off and he had ice around like the top of the shin/knee. So I'm not quite sure exactly what it is, but I'd be surprised if he plays this week. The poor bloke just can't stay on the field. He's either suspended or injured this year. So I would say that if he doesn't get named, or if he gets ruled out late, I'd say we see Api Coruscant move to the halves again, and we see Talon De Silva come into the 9. Do you like that as an Api owner?
Not in this matchup. We were actually having a bit of a look before the show, and Hookers scored really well in this matchup. But as a general rule, the more Appy gets his hands on the ball, and I know he touches the ball every time it goes to hooker, but the more playmaking you allow him, the better it usually is for his scoring. He is one of the creative sparks, one of the few creative sparks even on this Tigers team.
I'd say one of two creative sparks in this Tigers team, him and Dalvin. So, I'm a realist. Scotty Sorensen, mate, he's out with a hammy injury, unfortunately. I think it was Guru's podcast last week or the week before that said that Scott Sorensen's been holding a shoulder injury over the last month as well. So it looks like he's been a bit beaten up and the hammy's taken him down this week. So Panthers edges, we'll come to them because Ange made a really good point in the chat. I'll try and find the comment earlier. Eli Katoa now becomes maybe a consideration to play. We're initially thinking maybe Eli Katoa was a sit this week, but against two edges in what Liam Henry's a bit of a tackle bot, like he's solid. But who's the other edge? We'll come to that game later. But two guys that haven't been playing big minutes this year, so could maybe open things up for Eli Katoa if you're thinking of sitting him. Maybe we need to think about that. Mate, SJ's quad from last week ruled him out. Obviously late. He was a late scratching, but he has been named this week, which is great for the Wires. And Ryan Madison has been named, but the report was, Maverick Geyer, for the Panthers is on the other edge, which I think is going to be that left edge. So
yep.
Back to Ryan Madison, mate. I thought he broke his ribs. From my understanding, he had 3 broken ribs in that last game.
Mate, he's just built differently. Pain tolerance is the words I would use when it comes to Matto. No, the man's a unit. I mean, if I was playing for Parramatta, I would be saying, hey, guys, these hurt. I'm just going to go sit down over here, see you next year. But, just built differently.
Absolutely. And shout out to Thomas King here. We do need the Tigers to beat South to maintain a chance of the round 27 Spoon Bowl. And the Spoon Bowl will be at Campbelltown, which I will absolutely be at. And we need it to happen. And also, to be fair, the Tigers actually have a decent record against Souths in the last few years. We seem to be a little bit of a bogey team for them. So let's see how that goes this weekend. I'm not confident, but yeah, we can. We'll see how we go, mate. Let's move in and look at the weekly preview and have a chat about the teams for the week. And longtime sponsor of the show sponsors the weekly preview. Ryan from Astute Newstead. Are your rates above 6.2%? Maybe you're a home owner and you're not happy with your home loan rates. Maybe you want to buy a home and get into the market, or you want to refinance, renovate, and save some cash. Then you can reach out to Ryan from Astute Newstead for an obligation and a cost-free inquiry. Won't cost you a thing. He'll chat with you about your situation. And if you want to inquire, his link tree is in the description below. Just let him know we sent you. But your Broncos are on the bye. So could be a bit of a quiet weekend for you, but I assume you probably haven't been enjoying watching the Broncos play lately.
They were all right last week. Yeah. I mean, I still watch them. I watch basically every game anyway. But what has stuck for Supercoach, and this is a good week for me, I basically never have the Broncos, so then they can only let me down once. I've only brought Xavier Willison in last week. And had Reece Walsh earlier on before Origin. So, not really Supercoach relevant for me. I would say once Payne Haas got injured, people weren't really knocking down the door of buying too many Broncos assets unless it was like a cheapie on the wing or somebody really good valued like Willison. So, really good for punters out there.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Head-to-head elimination finals this week. So for those of you that are playing for your season, you're going to want to make sure that first of all, you're going to want to look at your matchup, right? And you're not going to know too early on what that team looks like and what trades your opposition has made. But it's worth monitoring that pretty closely throughout the matchup itself throughout the weekend. And to kick things off for the weekend, mate, the first game of the Thursday night, which isn't normally a stinker of a night to for Supercoach in general, but Panthers versus Storm, mate, at Bluebet Stadium could be. I don't want to go and say the game of the round because Thursday night sucks and it's a bit of a hoodoo. But two of the best teams in the comp, first and second at the moment.
There might not be too many points scored maybe in this with the way that both these teams have been playing. But this is the game I'm most looking forward to. 1v2, Panthers at home. A few pieces missing at Panthers. Maybe the Storm were gearing up for this one as well, with Eli Katoa not named last week. But, mate, I don't think it's going to be big for Supercoach. I think it's going to be a ripper game. I think that you're better off sitting a lot of these players, and we'll have a bit more of a chat about start versus sit. Is this the point that we're talking about, start versus sit? Because I'm probably sitting some of these guys. Sit on the couch, have a beer, and enjoy the game for what it is in this one. Don't be playing too many Supercoach assets.
Yeah, tricky, isn't it? I mean, we've got Sorensen coming. Sorensen and Martin, they're both out this week, replaced by Mav Geyer and Liam Henry, who, look, Liam Henry's done a great job all year. So I don't know whether that's a weakness for them. I know that, losing Liam Martin, obviously a state of origin, state quality forward, is never a good thing for a team. But Liam Henry is probably one of the better replacements, I think, across the league that you could rely on to get the job done. Mav Geyer, though, inexperienced there for Sorensen. So that could be the edge that they attack there, especially that left edge, where the Storm and Eli Katoa could be doing a bit of damage. Jerome Hughes and Eli Katoa could combine there to maybe find them out on the right edge. But James Fisher-Harris and Dylan Edwards on the extended bench is a big talking point. And looks like Steve Shedden here in the chat's doing our job for us, letting everyone know who the inclusions are for Penrith. Shout out to Steve. Mate, what are your thoughts here on this? Like Dylan Edwards could come in and replace Dane Laurie, which obviously isn't ideal for those of you pod hunters out there that took a punt on Dane Laurie. And James Fisher-Harris, obviously, I think Lindsay Smith's the guy that drops out rather than Moses Leota.
Yeah, I do think so. I think the best thing for Laurie owners, it's the first game of the round. So we do our updates an hour before. So if he is switched out, just follow us on all our socials. I think you're putting in the work there on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and everything like that. It'll allow you the time to swap him out, to basically swap to whoever you want. Laurie's gone up in cash a lot as well. He's 620K, so you don't have to stress too much about money with it either. First round, you get a free hit. Perfect.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, free hit's probably the best way to explain it, I guess. There's been some breaking news in here. Maybe, should I play the stinger for the breaking news?
Yeah, do it.
Let's do it. I've got to find it first. Fuck, where is it? It's all the way at the bottom.
It's time for some news from around the league.
Thanks to IJ in the chat for letting us know this one. Now, Kyle Flanagan, not Sullivan, Kyle Flanagan has copped a 4-match ban for his bite on Stephen Crichton. I don't want to comment too much on this one because there's a bit going on social media, but 4 matches. What do you think?
I mean, it looks like he bit him. I think if I was put in that position from Critter, I would be looking to do whatever I could to get him off me. I think it was a bit much from Critter's. I know Critter's probably how I would play if I was, big and tough as well. I'd probably be as aggressive as him, but if I was Flano under there as well, I would want to get this guy off me. He was being a bit too aggressive, and he didn't have his hands, so he bit him.
Yes. If I had a 100 kilo, 8% body fat, big black man on top of me, and I wanted him off me, and his face was in my face, I don't necessarily blame him. Maybe that's, obviously it's illegal. You shouldn't do it on the NRL field. But it also looks like it was a little bit kind of forced. Like, Critter definitely wasn't, the good guy in this situation. I think he was a bit aggressive in that scenario.
Lano didn't really need to move his face to bite his nose.
And, Jack Byton got 3 weeks last year for the same thing. So good shout from Ange there. But yeah, look, I don't know. I'm impartial. I think maybe it might be a little bit stiff, but in saying that, look, you just can't bite people. It doesn't matter what the scenario is. You can't fucking clamp down on someone's nose. So 4 weeks for Kyle Flanagan, which means that I think that, and there's a really good point here from Haggy in the chat, all ball's going to go to Hunt and Lomax's side now on the right edge. So I can't imagine the ball going left that much, which is great for Lomax. We'll talk about him a bit later.
Yep. No, 100% there. So who replaces, I might be throwing you under the bus here, who replaces Flano now that he's out?
I actually haven't checked the depth of this squad, but I will. Let's bring it up right now
No,
while we're live.
no, I will.
That's the beauty of being live.
No, we can have a chat in a minute about it. Do you want me to start talking about the Sea Eagles and the Warriors at 4 Pines?
Go for it.
Game 2, 6 o'clock. Tolutau Kula was named the 18th man here. SJ's also back that we mentioned earlier, and Tamari Martin makes way after being one of his best again last year, last week. Look, I think Tamari Martin's just making way to give SJ's path for his farewell tour. Leia out, but Montoya back in. So I think Leia is better, but you're not really getting massive bumps there. And one of my boys, Luke Metcalf, is back on the extended bench. I tell you what, Chanel Harris-Davida had a great game last week, and Tamari Martin's been great, but Metcalf will be there next year in the halves.
Bit of this about you.
No question about it. I am ready to get hurt again.
Do it. You're going to do it.
Oh, I don't know. I'd have to go Cam Munster to him, to be honest. So,
yeah, you probably can't do that. That's fair.
And it probably cost me $100K.
Yeah, not ideal. Not ideal. Everyone's saying Jesse Marshke in the chat. So could I get clarification? Yeah. He hasn't been named in the 22. So can they bring someone in from outside of the squad? I'm assuming maybe they can because of a suspension.
Yeah, I'm presuming you can because of a suspension. Because he fought it and lost, which is the difference between the 3 games that Whiten got, right? But yeah, surely they can add somebody in there. They were fighting it. They were showing, with the team list that they were backing their boy. But yeah, Jesse Marshke will come in there, being a natural half. I know he's played on the hooker, played a little bit of utility, covered for Ben Hunt as well when he was out. So yeah, he'll come in beside Benny.
And I think, look, I'm not 100% sure, to be honest, but if Marshke hasn't been named in the squad and they can't bring someone in from outside the squad, I mean, they named this team, to be fair, knowing that he was going to the judiciary. So, really, is it fair that they get to just bring a random guy out of the squad into the squad now because he failed at the judiciary? I don't think it is. So
that's outside of my pay grade.
But anyway, we're looking at the squad here. We could see maybe Jacob Little move into the 6 or the 7, and Ben Hunt moves to the 6. We also could see then who we got in the reserves here. We've got Connor Mulheisen, who's played a lot of hooker, that could move into hooker then. So I think they've got a couple of options, but regardless, who gives a fuck? It's not Supercoach related, so it doesn't really matter.
Yep.
Mate, you were talking about Sea Eagles Warriors. Turbo, probably the big talking point here, but that will come a little bit later. Regarding which armband we put on him. Yep.
And 4 Pines, 6 o'clock, early on. Really good for an armband this week. But absolutely, the reason I might not put an armband on him is actually the next game, the 8 o'clock game on the Friday, which is the Roosters versus the Eels at Allianz. With Dom Young back, May is part of a 4-forward bench. But yeah, it's Tedesco really on that Roosters team playing against the Eels, and the Eels were better last week. Tedesco could absolutely tear him to shreds.
Well, the Eels concede the most, I think it's the most or the second most Supercoach points to fullbacks this year. So this is why the Turbo versus Tedesco conversation is so relevant this week, because Eels concede the most points to fullbacks this year. Warriors concede the second most. So you're versing first, second, really, is the decision you need to make. And I don't know, how are you leaning at the moment? Because I would probably lean towards Turbo just because it's a 6 p.m. game and it's not a night game. I don't know. I'm on the fence. I have no idea.
I have not backed against Teddy all year, and I have gone quite well. Obviously, you're ranked a bit higher than me, but the ability to vice-captain Cleary into Tedesco, and I don't even like the Cleary matchup, but Cleary is the best player in the game at the moment. Whereas Tedesco is probably the best player in Supercoach at the moment. So I'm just thinking Vice Captain Cleary into Tedesco and happy days there. I just can't find a reason that doesn't work. Of course, I could do it into Turbo as well, but I think New Zealand are better than Parramatta.
Oh, look, I mean, both don't have much to play for, if anything.
Yeah.
The one thing maybe that would lean me towards just going with Teddy against the Eels would be the fact that the Warriors seem to be on this kind of final tour for SJ for the rest of the year before he retires. That's the only thing. But the Warriors haven't been playing good footy. So, and Tamari Martin's out, who's been a shining light for them. So I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. I'm probably leaning towards Turbo against the Warriors because the Warriors do still concede points to fullbacks. And it is at 4 Points Park where Turbo just runs and mark. The difference is I think Turbo can go 160, 170 plus. Can Teddy do that anymore?
Yeah, because he's playing Parramatta.
When's the last time he scored that? Like a 150 plus score?
Yeah, maybe, but he's averaging 87 for the year, playing a lot more games than Turbo.
It's a tough decision. Honestly, I don't know whether we're going to give a right or wrong answer on tonight's pod. I think it's a flip of the coin. And as you would say, because I'm not an NFL guy, but we're in a couple of NFL drafts at the moment. And I keep messaging you saying, who the fuck do I pick here? Because I don't know any of these guys in the deep league. And you're like, it's a coin flip.
Yeah. And it's Lad McConkey season, just in case you were worrying about that.
Yeah, appreciate that. Is he still on the board in this draft? I might grab him.
No, I think I got him.
Oh, did you? Okay, so cool.
He was a homer pick.
We didn't talk Eels. Kelma Tuolangi, he's back from that broken finger that saw him have 4 to 5 weeks out on the sideline. Madison's been named, like we spoke about. And Mike Acevo is also on the extended bench. So for those of you with Jake Tungo, maybe it could be a blessing. Maybe it could be a blessing in disguise because I don't expect Jake Tungo to be scoring too well against the Roosters this week. Could be a little bit of an AE issue. So if he drops out of the team here, that could be really good for maybe a VC on Turbo or a VC on Teddy.
Yeah, and for the few people that have Joey Lussick, he's also been named on the bench. So just to ruin your AE nightmares.
Yeah, there goes that. Let's move on to the next game, mate. Game 4, Bulldogs and the Dolphins at Bundaberg, this one. So it's still a home game for the Dolphins, I guess, but the Bulldogs have taken their home game to Bundaberg. Good on them. Both teams going to roll out similar squads from last week. Jamin Salmon, he returns, and Mark Nichols is HIA. He's out this week, replaced by Lachlan Hubner. So, is there anything really Supercoach relevant from this game? We might talk about maybe Jacob Carraz in captaincy chat, but anybody else you're looking at?
Yeah, the Dolphins just let in a lot of points. The Bulldogs don't let in a lot of points. So, yeah, maybe some start-sit chat. I don't think I will play Asako against the Doggies. So
that's a fair call. And you know what we can do? We can bring up the shout out to NRL Supercoach stats because they do an awesome job on this. But this is the positional matchups for the year. And we can see the Bulldogs on the screen there on the left-hand side. Obviously, the red matchups are not favourable matchups. And if you're a halfback, a 5'8", a centre wing, or a fullback, it's probably the worst or nearly the worst matchup in the competition if you're playing against the Bulldogs. So, yeah, I think you're probably spot on. Yeah, you're probably spot on with sitting Jermaine Asako this week. Game 5, mate, Cowboys Raiders at QCB up in North Queensland. Chatty Townsend has been dropped for Jake Clifford. Now, I'm not even talking Supercoach at the moment, but I'm sure that Cowboys fans around the country are cheering that Chad Townsend's been dropped because, I think a lot of the fan base has been probably hoping that he'd be left behind for someone eventually, and now this is the time.
Yeah, I didn't really see him doing it, but I reckon Jake Clifford's been good in his opportunities. He is going to get put in a situation where he can audition for next year, whether the Cowboys look elsewhere for a halfback or whether this is his spot. Absolutely huge game. Love the narrative behind Jakey Clifford getting a chance right here, heading into finals, perhaps even, being their first choice halfback, for some finals games, because it looks like the Cowboys will be making the 8. They've been very up and down this year. Chad Townsend, of course, going to the Roosters next year, probably in a backup role, I would say. But yeah, Jakey Clifford.
Good on him. I like Jake Clifford as a player. So let's see how the big red dog goes this week. Nanai's out with a HIA this week. Finafuiaki comes in to replace him, and we spoke earlier about Rapana out with his HIA. So it's caused a bit of a shuffle for the Raiders with Seb Chris to the wing. Ethan Strange gets named at centre, and Adam Cook is named at 5'8". And I kind of like Adam Cook at 5'8". That guy's got a big left boot. I feel like Fogarty's kicking game is probably one of the best kicking games in the comp, aside from Cleary and Reynolds. But
yep.
Cook's got a big Matt Burton boot on him. So I kind of like that for the Raiders.
And like Rapana's out, so there's been a shuffle. And basically everybody involved in Supercoach, maybe everybody in NRL likes to criticize Ricky's rotations. What he's done here is just got his best 13 on the paddock, which you know what, when you're fighting to make the 8, you're playing another team you're contending with to make in the 8. Look, let's just get our best players on the paddock, regardless of position, and just see what happens. And I back him. I back him in. I reckon the Raiders will win this week.
Yeah. You know what? I don't mind it. I mean, the only thing that steers me away from that is the Cowboys at home. But in saying that, that's not a guaranteed win by any means. The only one thing that we didn't mention, and shout out to those Joey Lussick owners, you have a friend in Danny Levi who has also been named on the bench. So for those of you that are hoping to get a VC loop in, I'd probably be VCing Nathan Cleary nice and early and then captaining one of Tedesco and Turbo. Rather than taking a risk on a VC when you've got an AE nightmare in Levi or Lussick on the bench.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. And that's what I'm doing. So
good shout. All right, game 6, mate. Tigers and the Rabbitohs at Campbelltown Stadium. I will be at this game, so hit me up in my DMs and let me know, and we'll go and have a beer.
If you want a photo, it just costs a beer, right? If you want a photo with the Supercoach brand.
We haven't reached that point yet, mate. I was going to throw some names out there, but no, I'm not. I'm not at that point yet. No cost for photos. Lally,
but it is a beer.
It is a beer. Lally returns from HIA. He replaces Ale Marlow, which I don't understand as a Tigers supporter, but anyway. Seyfarth replaces Porter. So I don't know how people feel about that. I mean, he was playable last week, to be fair. So yeah, not ideal. But anyway, Seyfarth, he's out. Or he replaces Porter, I should say. Sione Fainu is also back, which is great for the Tigers. And Caesar has been named, but very, very unlikely, I think, to play this week, which we'll see a shuffle probably an hour before kickoff, I think, or at least 24 hours. Keep an eye out on our socials, Insight F Sports on Twitter or X, and Instagram's Insight Fantasy Sports. You'll find us. We do the updates and the late mail for every game. 1 hour out. So you'll know what's happening there. But, mate, the big talking point for me, Keon, he's back to an edge. Now, Cam Murray's back to lock, which makes complete sense for me. But I don't think Keon's been bad enough, really, to change things at this point of the season, or they're just reverting back to what he knows.
Yeah, and Cam Murray was fantastic last week in what I've seen in the highlights. I was putting some feral kids in bed at this time, so I didn't get to watch the whole game. But look, Cam Murray stood up. Again, maybe it's just getting the best players on the paddock out there. I do think Cam Murray is a lot different at lock, so it might even just be for how they want to play in these certain situations, whether you want the battering ram in Keon, whether you want, a little bit more of a playmaker in Murray. I like both of them in the middle. So, yeah, I can't complain either way, really.
As a Cam Murray and Keon owner in fantasy, I'm indifferent about how this is all playing out because it doesn't really matter much at all. The only other change for the Rabbitohs, mate, is Tallis Duncan. He starts on an edge for Michael Cheekham, who's out this week. So that's the only other change. Like I said at the start of the pod, the Tigers have a decent record against Souths in the last 5 years. Even though we've been poor, we find ways to beat the Rabbitohs, which is strange, but we also don't play well at Campbelltown. And you know what? We don't play well at Campbelltown when I attend, which is even worse. So I think you can probably lock us in for a loss there. But there's a question in the chat here from Melissa Hanson. We'll get this one out of the way nice and early. What Rabbitohs players are a must-play this week, and why is it all of them?
Bring up your stats there. I think maybe Jai Gray is a play this week. If I had to pick some players against the Great West Tigers, I would be maybe looking at Jai Gray.
Well, it's funny you say that because fullbacks actually are the worst scoring position for for a matchup against the West Tigers. Weirdly, I mean, don't get me wrong, they're still a good position to attack, but it's the halfback at the moment, which could be Cody Walker could be the guy to actually maybe even stick an armband on this week against the Tigers. So I don't mind that at all.
I wish I had him instead of Munster at the moment.
Did you have him initially and trade him out?
I went Cody Walker to Munster that when he was 1 to 3 weeks out. So I just thought, that's an upgrade.
Sucks. Game 7, mate. First game Sunday, Dragons and Titans at Wynn Stadium. And Jack Bird is back. So he returns for Moses Sully, who's out. Also for Matt Feeney or Max. I can't remember which one. But they're both playing. Both twins are playing, which is what's important. And Raymond Fatala-Mariner, he is on the extended bench as well. There's every chance he might come in late. For the Titans, Brian Kelly, he's back from illness this week, so he missed that game real late last week. AJ Brimson has been benched as well, which I didn't actually expect. But again, could provide really good utility value for the Titans there.
Well, they said that he wouldn't, be going back to center. He went back to center. And now I just think they're finding a way. I'd really like to think, look, AJ was playing Origin last year. So I would really like to think for AJ's sake, for the Titans' sake, that he's just finding his form, just getting out on the paddock. There's not a lot to play for anymore for the Titans. So, let's just get him some burn somewhere. But, Keanu definitely hasn't been good enough to drop. Bad enough to drop. Jaden Campbell's been great. Kieran Foran's been even better, probably. I don't know how AJ fits in. I think that they're going to have to make a trade or something at some stage. The Titans, they have too many of their best players playing in 3 positions.
Yeah, I agree. It's like if 4 doesn't fit into 3, someone needs to go. And AJ Brimson could be an elite player wherever he goes at 5'8", fullback. I don't think he's a centre, and I don't think he enjoys playing centre. I think he's too valuable, I think, to be playing.
He doesn't get the ball enough.
No, that's right. So, not ideal. Mo Fodawaker, he's suspended, replaced by Aaron Clark. Beau Fermor, 18th man as well. How do you say Beau Fermor again?
Leave me alone.
I want to hear it.
Beau Fermor.
Okay, Fermor. That's such an Aussie way of saying it, which is great. Go on.
Keep going. You're right. I was going to say, if we're going down, we've got Jaden Sewer on the other team, Jack de Bellin, and we've got Beau Fermor out there. This is we're playing for Salford.
Oh, okay. We got to that point of the night. I think where we'll move on. We'll move on to the game, mate. I think Sharks and Knights at points bet. Mulatalo and Trindle on the extended bench, Matty. I mean, look, both of these guys could come in. I think we could see Sam Stonestreet drop out for Mulatalo this week if he's fit and passes all the fitness tests. I think he's got 2 sessions to get through to be deemed fit for this weekend. And Braden Trindle, obviously, the rumours were that he was only going to miss 1 week with that hammy. So if that's true, then Sharks fans will breathe a sigh of relief, I think.
Yep. Yeah, and hopefully they're back. I don't think it moves the needle basically anywhere, whether those guys are playing or not. Mulatalo gets so wide open, and it hasn't been his best year either, that he basically just has to stumble over the line to score. Trindle likes to pass it to him. I hope if one comes in, they both come in.
Yeah, fair call. And that'd be great for the Sharks. And I mean, if you held Mulatalo up until this point, he's absolutely a play this week, if you can. The only other change for the Knights here is Lucas comes in for Mapapalungi in the centres there. So
Mapapalungi was pretty good last week.
He was fine for the probably 2 touches that he had on the left edge, because they didn't go that way at all. And I know because I was watching very closely at Marjorie doing nothing. So yes, that was good fun. I mean, there's a question on, do I play Lucas over Munster this week? I'll try and find the question, which is an interesting one from Spakakakakak. Is Munster a sit for Dylan Lucas? Seems off to me, as I can't shake the feeling that Munster will go huge if I sit him. What do you think?
I think Munster will go huge if you sit him, but if I was in your position, I would do that.
Tough, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, anybody playing against the Panthers, it's hard to back them with confidence.
And there's so many start-sit issues. Like, I would play Jermaine Asako for 23 of the first 24 rounds. I would play Eli Katoa for 23 of the first 24 rounds, but I'm not playing them this week. Cam Munster is probably the same, but Dylan Lucas has the better matchup. Let's just get him in there. Sharks were good last week, but they haven't been elite this year. Knights have, to be honest, probably a lot more to play for. Yeah, I would be going Dylan Lucas. Dylan Lucas has been one of their best all year, and that's why you own him. And he's probably put you in a better position than Cam Munster has all year.
Well, look, yeah, absolutely, that's the truth. Cam Munster's played like less than half a year. But yeah, no, I get your point. For me, it's really hard. I'm looking, and I'll talk about my start sit later because that's probably a conversation in itself. But I'm looking at sitting a couple of these guys from the Storm, and I'm really uncomfortable about it. So, bit tricky, but we should move into the squeeze of the week that is brought to you by the Standard Squeeze. Guys, for those of you that are sick of breaking glass bottles, you take your bottle of vodka or your bottle of bourbon out and you're going camping, you're going fishing, maybe you're hopping on a boat, and you smash the bottle of vodka all over the floor because you've accidentally dropped it or things have gotten a bit rowdy. It's not a good time. So you can go and get a Standard Squeeze combo pack, which we do give away for the top scorer in the league, in the Unlimited League every single week. And you're never going to have that problem ever again. If you use the code IFS15, get yourself 15% off at thestandardsqueeze.com. I've even got I've got some Diet Coke in here. No, actually Coke Zero, sorry, not Diet Coke. I'm not a Diet Coke guy.
Don't worry, there's no sugar.
I've got my little combo pack here, and all you do is just squeeze the chamber, and then you pop it in, and you got the perfect 30ml nip every single time. So just to track how much you've had, so that if you're going to drive a little bit later and you want to know how much you've drank, then you're in a good spot.
That's great. It's great to watch you scull 'em, mate. It's good. I like being in this position.
Yeah, I'm a good boy. I don't scull on lives, mate. Someone's got to host this show. But go to thestandardsqueeze.com, use the code IFS15 to get yourself 15% off. Do us a favor, do them a favor, do yourself a favor. Now, the top score of round 23 goes to Robert, coach of, get this, ready? You ready for this team name? Coach of Team Rob.
How did he do it?
How did he come up with that? That is incredibly creative of Robert there, coach of Team Rob. But I'll tell you what, his team must be creative with a 1484. Kalen Ponga captain, he had Turbo. He had Brian To'o. He had Dane Laurie. All got hundreds this week, and he had a couple of 90s in there as well. So congrats to Robert. Reach out to us, mate. Get in our DMs on socials or send us an email at contact@InsightFantasySports or go to our store and click the Contact Us tab, whatever you want, however you want to get in touch.
I'm jealous of Rob, not only because he's got himself a Standard Squeeze pack, is that he doesn't have that sit-start problem that we have because... Yeah, Turbo's got a better matchup than Ponga. So, yeah, he's able to do some excellent start-sits this week.
Absolutely. Sure is. We've got Quinton, who's also back in the lead in the Unlimited League as well. He could take out a Supercoach Champions ring at the end of the season too for the winner.
Dead hand gang.
Huge dead hand gang. He's in 8th overall with a 1468 last week. So he had a really big week. He was 4th top score this week. So imagine if he took out the ring and also won himself a combo pack in the same year. That's elite Supercoach.
That's fantastic.
We've got 18 in the top 100 and 166 in the top 1,000 as well, which is pretty cool. So shout out to all of you that are in the hunt for not only the win, but maybe your head-to-head league win as well. Mate, let's talk Mixer for a sec before we move in and have a chat about the trade trends, because I've fallen backwards a little bit. I was in a good spot after the first couple of weeks, and now I've had a stinker.
Yeah, look, Justin Olam hasn't helped me much out there. But I'm actually thinking, I love the Roosters matchup. I've talked about it the whole time. I'm actually thinking captaining Sammy Walker this week, or boosting Sammy Walker, sorry for Mixer fans. And I'm still taking that little slice of pie by having Tedesco there at fullback as well, or wing fullback for Mixer fans out there. To round it out, I've talked myself into Appy at hooker. when I was having a bit more of a deep dive into the stats there. I am just thinking that I'm gonna captain Georgia Hale. It's worked for me basically every week. She was a bit of a pod at the start of the year, and now she's like 65% owned. But I'm gonna go back to the well there. I'm gonna bring in and play Yasmin Clydesdale, much like I have most of the other weeks. She's been banging out 41s for me. And I'm going to stay away from Surgis and Kelly just to pot it up a bit with Mele Hafunga from the Broncos. I had to have a Bronco in there. And the men Broncos are on a bye. Hafunga. I'm excited.
Love it. I'm going to go with Lauren Brown at hooker because she hasn't really let me down yet. And she's been solid. When you've got a halfback that you can play at hooker who gets all the in-play kicking in fantasy, like where you get, I think, 25 points 1 point per 25 meters of kick meters. I think that you kind of want a piece of that pie. I've got Georgia Hale, like you do, at front row forward. I would love Cam Murray this week because the Tigers led in a lot of tries to middle forwards. So I would like to make that play, but I think Georgia Hale's safer. I'm going to back Keon in this week, weirdly, because people are jumping off Keon, and I'm going to jump on him because I think there's a chance there that he could find some attacking stats against the Tigers. Just running off Cody Walker's hip there's got to be something good that comes from that against the West Tigers. So I'm on Keon. I'm on Sam Walker like you at halfback. I'm fading Cleary, and I'm very, very scared about doing that. But I'll back Walker. I'm on Jess Surgis again because she's been awesome. And I'm on Turbo as my captain for the men this week against the Warriors. So that's how my mixer team's looking. And you can still jump in the league if you want. The description or the league code is in the description below. So
what's your rank at the moment?
Oh, good question. Let me quickly check for you. It is probably not that great.
Me neither. I'm at 3,000th after forgetting my team that week that my son was born. So
I'm at 1610. So not terrible, but not great. Cool. I am 195th in the Insight Fantasy Sports League. Chevy Beef Stew is leading by nearly 100 points. So
nice.
We're giving away a combo pack from the standard squeeze for the winner of the NRL Mixer Comp too. So jump on in.
And I've actually really been enjoying it. Sometimes, when you're starting to watch a new sport, I sort of feel that way if I'm trolling through ESPN or, something like that. And, I watch the Major League Baseball or something like that. I quite enjoy watching it. It's a bit therapeutic, like watching the cricket. But when you don't know any of the players, it's a bit of a struggle. And obviously being a bit of a fantasy head, being able to pick some of these players and, the 3-game State of Origin series for the women this year, I've really been able to get behind it a little bit.
Yeah, it's been good. It's been good to watch. And it also starts at like 11 o'clock on a Saturday. So like you get to watch football from like 11 through to like 9:30, which is a dream for me.
I might have to say it a bit quieter because my wife's in the next room. But like I start watching the women's rugby league and I feel like she's like, no, we're not watching footy again. She's like, no, he's watching the women's game. We've got to get behind it. So I can just really talk myself into sitting there all day watching the NRL.
Very good. Support the women's game. Absolutely. I love that. Mate, let's have a chat about the trade trends for the most bought and sold players because, look, at the end of the day, we're at that time of the year where this starts to become pretty relevant. So let's chat about that.
Targets acquired.
Who do you think the most purchased player is this week? Let's say in the top 10% of teams.
I think it's probably some people going back to the well with maybe a Tedesco or somebody like that. Or a Turbo.
Nope.
What is it?
It's Angus Crichton.
Oh, going back to the well. Yeah.
Going back to the well. You're on the right track. So he now becomes 5.3% of the top 10% of teams are buying Angus Crichton this week. Look, the matchup is great against the Eels. It's hard to argue with that. What Bryce Cartwright on that edge that will be defending him, which will be a tough task for Cardi. 61% owned in the top 10% of teams now, which is rightfully so. He's been fantastic all year. So I can't argue with that one. But, mate, number 2 is the one that might come up a little bit later in conversation, who is 25% owned in the top 10% of teams. So you could call him a pod or pretty close to it, is Zach Lomax. he could go very large this week. I'm a big fan of Zach Lomax as a matchup this week.
He is probably the guy that I'm going to be watching with slits in my fingers this week. Look, yeah, maybe I'm going to do the same with Sam Walker. I've banked him in for a big game, but I also don't have any regrets having Cleary there instead of Sam Walker. And I've already got too many Roosters players. So if Sam Walker goes well, I'm going to be scoring a lot of points too. But Zach Lomax, I don't own a St. George player. I haven't owned a St. George player all year. Zach Lomax has been in career best form. I think he's probably the best winger in the game at the moment. And
hang on.
Yeah.
Brian To'o. You think he's better than Brian To'o?
Nah, probably.
I'll give you the answer. He's not. But he's the second best winger in the comp.
Yeah, he's the second best. And we just talked about Ben Hunt getting his hands on the ball a little bit and a little bit more with Flano out and kicking to where he's got all results all year to Lomax against the Titans that basically have nothing to play for. They got absolutely pizzled last week.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I think I really like the Lomax play. I think the Titans have been really hot and cold. Hard to predict who's going to turn up each week. And if the wrong team turns up or the team that turns up that doesn't have any motivation like last week turns up, the Dragons could put 40 on them. You know, they're that kind of team that could easily do that. So, yeah, I agree with the Zach Lomax pick. Callum Ponga is the third most purchased against the Sharks, but the Sharks are what you would consider to be undermanned, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. I still... last week was the week to buy Kalen Ponga. You are chasing last week's points if you're bringing him in this week. But maybe if you've got a center or somebody there in your fullback position and you just didn't make the trade last week, yeah, I get it.
I mean, if you're buying Kalen Ponga, you either are trading Turbo or Tedesco or you don't have one of them. So would you rather buy Turbo or Tedesco this week in their really favourable matchup and their nice draw home rather than get Ponga now?
I think maybe the problem you'll find for these players out there is Ponga's 600K and they're trading like an Ero or a Garrick or one of those center wings and they just can't afford the 920K of Tom Trbojevic. Of course, I feel a lot better owning Teddy, owning Turbo. Edwards was the other guy that I owned and I would really love to have him for the run home. But yeah, look, Kalen Ponga is still bargain basement price. So
yeah, fair enough.
And it might be people going Walsh to one of these blokes.
True. Yep. I still think if I could make it work, I'd rather Turbo or Tedesco this week. Last week was the time to get Ponga. But again, he does have 3 favourable matchups to run home. So at the end of the day, you can't go wrong with all 3. Turbo again is the next most purchased player at number 4 with 3.8% of people trading him in. He's up to 63.9% now owned. Joseph Manu is the 5th most purchased at 2.2%. That brings him up to 19.4% owned. What are your thoughts on Joey Manu now?
Yeah, I own him. I brought him in last week. 2 weeks ago, their last game. It didn't work out for me. Yeah, I can bring him in against Parramatta.
Yeah, for sure. Joey Tarpany, he is 6th. Fair enough. If you waited a week to decide on what you wanted to do with Payne Haas, then that's the play. James Tedesco at number 7. I get it. Brian To'o at number 8. Absolutely. Max Plath at number 9. Is that chasing last week's points? Or do we think that Max Plath could genuinely be doing that for the rest of the year, hitting these 80-plus scores?
And not against the Bankstown Bulldogs.
Yeah, the matchup isn't nice, is it? And Sam Walker is number 10, which I also agree, against Para. So happy days. I think Sam Walker, it just depends on who you're trading. I wouldn't trade Jerome Hughes to Sam Walker this week. I know that that's actually a pretty popular move because the Storm have the Dolphins next week. But I think Sam Walker's got a pretty favourable little draw there for the run home, as does Teddy, Gus, Dom Young, Manu. It's the reason why we're getting them. So, I can't argue against Sam Walker with the goal kicking. So that is the top 10 most bought. Mate, Scotty Drinkwater's been bailed on against the Canberra Raiders. What are your thoughts on that? I'm assuming they're getting one of these guns.
Yeah, and there's a bye next week as well. If you hadn't traded Scotty Drinkwater in the last couple of weeks, like I probably would have bailed on him. Now's a good time to get rid of Scotty Drinkwater. Just rethink maybe the Kalen Ponga. If you can afford to go, people are going, I've got the 10% up. I know that you're working a little bit more direct there, but the Reece Walsh and Scott Drinkwater to Kalen Ponga is huge. I'm presuming that's just because they can't afford Tedesco or, Turbo.
Yes, but I'm on the 10% at the moment working through this too. So I think we're on the same page. Payne Haas, number 3, yes, for sure. Jaden Campbell, number 4, 2% are bailing on him, 32% owned. I understand why, but is the Dragons the right play to bail on Jaden Campbell?
Nope. This is what defines a good matchup.
I mean, look, Jaden Campbell's 694K. So, like, if you're going up to Turbo or Teddy, I get it. I can live with that. But anybody else, no, I wouldn't do it. Reece Walsh, no brainer. We talked about that earlier. Yep. Ryan Pappenhausen, though, there was a question about Pappy. I'll see if I can find it. But what are your thoughts about Ryan Pappenhausen being the 6th most traded out player this week?
I would, to get one of these other blokes, yes.
The question was Pappy to Ponga.
Yeah, I would have owned Pappy to start off with. So maybe that's something that I haven't really thought about. But if I'd put myself in a position with Pappy, he went pretty well last week, but I still think I want one of those other 3 players. I would even trade in Kalen Ponga, even though I don't love the matchup this week. I like it better than Pappy's matchup.
Yeah, fair enough. Keon Kalamatangi, he is the 7th most traded out player. I don't know whether I'd be doing that move.
Yeah, but it's to get Angus.
Yeah, but is that worth it?
I didn't trade Angus through the bye period where he missed a fuck ton of games just because I needed to make sure I've got Angus in my team. If Keon had to make way for me to get Angus, then yes. This probably isn't the week from Keon's side. Surely you've got I'd trade Eli Katoa to Angus before Keon.
Okay, spicy. But yeah, makes sense. That's fair enough, especially if he cops a rest in round 26 like they're talking about. But I think from what I've heard, Bellamy's only saying that he's going to rest his Origin guys.
Yep.
So I don't know. I don't know how that plays out. Jerome Hughes is the 8th most traded out player. I don't know whether I like that, especially if it's to Sam Walker. Not overly keen on that. Casey McLean is also being traded out. I don't think that just because he's playing Melbourne doesn't mean that he's a trade out. I think that's a waste of a trade personally, unless you go into Lomax and you're spending 250K to get up to Lomax or 300K.
Yep.
Maybe the only trade I'd make.
Yeah, there's nobody else there's not too many center wings at 500K anymore that I'm super excited about owning.
No. And Ronaldo Mulatalo is the 10th most traded out, which doesn't make sense to me considering he's on the extended bench this week. So for anybody with Ronnie, I would reverse that and I would probably want to play Ronnie this week if he plays.
Yep, with you.
Mate, we've got some pods to talk about. Every single week we've gone and we've picked a pod for the run home and we're going to track those results and we'll give you those results in round 27. But let's move on to those pods now.
I'm watching you, Wazowski. Always watching.
Now, I can kick things off with Jacob Preston. I like Jacob Preston's matchup this week. He's 2.6% owned. For me, I think that the Dolphins have leaked a ton of points this year and that the ownership is way too juicy for me to look past. I was looking through this list and I think like you, we were both struggling to find someone we really like this week as a pod. Yep. So when we're talking pod, we're talking sub 10% owned. 2.3% owned Jacob Preston against the Bulldogs. Against the Dolphins this week is juicy and it's really nice. And I don't really have many stats to back it up. I kind of just like the matchup. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I really like Jacob Preston. I really like Jacob Preston against the Dolphins as well. Really, really good matchup there. But yeah, we did seem to be siphoning through a fair bit of trash to try and find some of these guys, hey?
Yeah, a bit tough. We're scraping the bottom of the barrel, so to speak, now, I think. But, mate, who are you looking at for your pod of the week?
So at 488K, front row forward, second row forward eligible, it's Jack de Ballin. And I know a lot of people have been jumping off him. There's actually more people trading him out than trading him in. But hear me out. When I had a look, the Titans actually let in a lot of points to front row forward. 488K is actually relatively sideways from blokes like Sam Hughes and players like that, which won't score as well as Jack DeBellin. If you don't really want to spend up, if you can't afford the Joey Tarpany, if you already have Joey Tarpany and you found yourself with Payne Haas just sitting there, Willison isn't playing this week. I thought that he was really good to get in. Don't mute me. Jack DeBellin is a pretty good football player and has been pretty good for the Dragons. He was a guy that has touched 700K in the last couple of years. When we're taking a big deep dive, look, you could do worse than getting him in. He's a lot better quality than a lot of other sub 500K front row forwards.
Brother,
That's yuck. That was my exact response when you told me as well who your pod was for this week. Yuck.
It was. I struggled. Something chronic. You start going to sub 10K and there's not too many guys, and I think it's sub 10K because people aren't trading at front row forward. But when you have a look at teams and who people have at front row forward, hey, you could do it.
You've been sent to the bin by multiple people in the live chat. So let's see. You might be the last one laughing. Who knows? I don't think you will be.
When Jack DeBellin gets 65 plus, I want to see a schooner in super chats to me. Okay.
All right. Deal.
I'll donate. All right. If he scores sub 60, I'll donate $50 to charity. There you go.
Okay. Cool. Otherwise, that's cool.
I want some super chats. I want some schooners bought. They run for about $8.50 up here in Queensland. So
yeah, that's fair. All right, we can deal with that. Let's have a chat about captains for the week. Oh shit, wrong one.
Are you ready, kids?
Aye, aye, Captain!
The wrong stinger. Good from me. Captain VC Loop, mate. The obvious ones really are Cleary against the Storm, Turbo against the Warriors, Teddy against the Eels. Like, are you looking at anybody else from those first three games?
No, and realistically, those last two are my captain choices as well. Let's just rip off the Band-Aid early on in the week. You do have a couple guys that I do really like their matchups as well, but I don't like them as much as Turbo and Teddy. And especially in my position when I've got blokes like Lussick, when I'm having to sit, you're like your Jake Tungos and blokes like that. When I'm having to sit these guys, I'm really worried about an AE. Cleary would have to be something special for me to loop, knowing that I've got Turbo or Teddy coming.
Yeah, it's hard to go against either of them, isn't it? Like, I think if you want to get really spicy, which got me in trouble last week, you could look at Carraz, you could look at Lomax. I think they could both score well. Carraz against the Dolphins, Lomax against the Titans. Like, both of those guys, David Fafita against the Dragons. Like, I mean, he's running a Jaden Sewer, I think, from memory off. Who's on the right edge for the Dragons? Is it Sewer?
Yeah, on the right, yeah.
Sure, that's great. But Fafita hasn't shown me anything in the last month to make me feel confident in him as a captain.
No.
So I think it makes sense to go with Cleary VC into either Teddy or Turbo, or Teddy and Turbo VC into, like, if you've got Lomax or Carraz. That's probably the way that I'd go with it this week.
But you have to make sure you nearly have a free loop to do that. Like,
that's right.
Like, you've got to definitely have no Jake Tungos, no Joey Lussicks, no Danny Levi's, and I've got two of those three. Like, I am not looping this week unless Cleary goes 150 plus.
Yeah.
I
completely agree with that. Oh, for sure. Absolutely. Cleary can score 150 against anyone. Does he do it against the Storm?
Probably not.
Maybe. Oh, look, maybe. Like, it's at Blue Bet. It's not in Melbourne. Like, and Melbourne have been leaky. Like, they definitely haven't been the defensive stalwart you would consider them to be in previous years. So I don't hate it, but in saying that, I mean, look, the little devil on my shoulder, it's like the devil and angel sitting on my shoulder. The devil tells me that you just VC Turbo or Teddy into captaining a spicy winger. But it's just, it burnt me last week doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, and when you've got fucked over, when you see yourself moving down, would you move down 500-600 spots? Yeah, it's hard to do it a second week in a row.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It makes me want to do it even more. And that's why I do this at Supercoach finals time because, I get a bit too spicy with moves. But don't do what I say. No, don't do what I do. Do what I say, maybe. Is that the right way to say it? Yeah, cool. Speaking of doing what I say and not what I do, let's answer some questions.
It's question time. Let's answer your questions for the week ahead.
All right. Regan Bentley kicking things off. Hey, boys, got 5 trades left, saving the last a boost for round 27. Jaden to Crichton via Plath. Okay. So Plath's duel, I'm assuming, is sitting in the 2RF. Or Haas to Murray. Hasn't got money for Tarpany. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I rate that. I like Murray in lock. I like.
You prefer Haas to Murray over Campbell to Crichton?
Oh, sorry, I thought he was doing both. No, I think you've got to get Crichton. Crichton is must own this week.
The try
and Jaden Campbell
upside
probably isn't.
Yeah, the try scoring upside in Crichton is probably a little bit more valuable for me than Cam Murray. Like Cam Murray will probably score 65 for the rest of the year as a bare minimum. That I reckon that's his floor. But Crichton could score you. He could average 95 for the run home. So I saw someone in the chat say that Crichton will be rested soon. I mean, look, does it make sense to rest him after they've just had a bye?
And when he played 80 minutes 3 days after Origin, that man's not getting rested. He's not even human.
I think he just had his rest during the bye last week.
Yeah,
that's the way I'm looking at it.
Can I give Regan a little bit of advice?
You can.
That Val to Zach trade that he's thinking next week, do this week. Like Zach Lomax has a fantastic matchup. I was having a look at the matchups for centers and wingers against the Raiders, and it's actually a terrible matchup. You know what? If you do that, you can boast next week, not just round 27.
We love boasting. Yeah, we love boasting. All right. Primary source. Hey, boys. Hey, I hope you're doing all right. Thanks, mate. We're doing well. I have Brown, Campbell, Hughes, and Nickera and Coruscant as reserve candidates this week. Which player do I not reserve? Love the content. Thanks, mate, for watching. Oh, you got to pick one to sit this week out of Brown, Campbell, Hughes, Nickera, Coruscant. I think it's got to be Jaden Campbell.
I think it's got to be Hughes.
Is it Hughes?
Yeah, it's Hughes for me. I'm presuming that's Jerome, not Sam.
Well, if it's Sam, it's definitely Hughes. But if it's Jerome, it's probably also Hughes.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, it's Hughes. It's Hughes. I would play Campbell over Hughes this week, playing the Panthers.
I feel like, when there's such a popular, like when someone's playing against the Panthers, we always think, oh, maybe we sit them. I feel like it's one of those weeks where it's going to bite us in the ass. I feel like Jerome Hughes is going to score like 100 plus.
Don't care. Sit Jerome Hughes. That's what I'd do.
Okay. Coruscant's matchup is nice if he plays a hooker. So you definitely have to play him. Nickera maybe would be my second option to sit, potentially.
Yeah, probably.
With Trindle back in and left side dominant, mate, I don't know. Sorry, primary source, we've fucked you over there a little bit, but hopefully you're taking something from that. I'd say, yeah.
Trindle's not back in yet.
Yeah, Jerome Hughes is the sit. Ange, Kohler is on the extended bench. Who drops out when he comes back into the starting team? Let's quickly have a look. What are your thoughts? Who's playing the centre? It's not going to be Garrick, obviously. Lehigh Hopewadi is on the wing at the moment.
Yeah, he'll probably. He is. Lehigh Hopewadi, Tommy Talau, Jason Saab. I'd presume that
Talau to wing and Lehigh Hopewadi drops out for Kohler.
Yep, 100%. Even though Lehigh's been great, Kohler will play in the centres.
Yep. Gary Bradbury, 3 trades left, 275K in the bank, only one hooker in. I mean, you have to pick 2, but I'm assuming Cook is the main hooker. Playing overall, sitting at 383rd. Nice. Upgrade Azarko with a tough draw to Lomax, or save my last 3 trades for restings and injuries. I think depending on whether you have a boost, Matty, that's probably my determining factor. Because if you have a boost up your sleeve, then holding the 3 makes sense. But I really like the Azarko to Lomax this week.
if I was sitting 383rd, I would upgrade Asako to Lomax, but it probably comes down a little bit to who are you sitting. Like if you're popping out one of those popular guys like Jerome Hughes, even though we're saying sit him, he's probably still going to go score a 50 or something like that. Honestly, Asako is probably still going to go score a 50 or something like that. Lomax could score 100, but it's just if you're sitting a guy that you think's going to be scoring 70, then no. But if you're sitting somebody like a Jake Tungo or somebody like that, obviously you're not playing Asako. Like, yeah, it's more about who you're not playing rather than who you're playing, because start sits have been extremely hard this week. I am sitting some people that are averaging 70. If you're sitting somebody that's averaging 70, maybe it's not worth it. But if you're sitting somebody that you expect to get 50, then by all means, yeah, get Lomax in. It's an absolute ripping trade.
Some tough questions this week, man, with sit v start. We knew that we were going to cop these. So we'll keep going through them, mate. FC Sports. I have 4 trades left and 1 boost. Should I save a trade 1 week or what should I do? I'll leave this one with you. I'll be back in a sec.
Yeah, look, it really depends on your situation. But yeah, maybe save a trade this week, if any. Sit versus start, extremely hard. Broncos haven't been extremely popular ownership-wise this year outside of your Payne Hasses and your Reece Walsh. They're both injured. Great. Maybe save a trade this week, and then you can really attack if you do get, I suppose, smashed with injuries or something along those lines. So, yeah, I definitely think this is a week to trade. But you know what? 2 guys go down. 2 really popular guys go down this week. And, yeah, you are absolutely in the driver's seat, mate. Let me find where Braino was up to in the... all right, Haggy. He's a head-to-head player with 5 trades left. Centre wing is Karaz, Young, Lomax, Garrick, Iro, Marju, and McLean. So he's thinking McLean to enough and Marju to overkill. No, I think that you can play centre wings just as much as anyone at the moment. Like when we're talking about our second 5/8s being Dylan Browns and Lockie Galvins and Cam Munsters, I think it's an absolute luxury trade, but I think you can play 2. And we're just talking about nothing McLean and going Marju to To'o. After what I've seen from Marju all year, I'm not confident playing him at all. You're probably not playing Casey McLean either. I rate it. I think that it's something you can do with 5 trades left.
Yeah, 5 trades left, definitely. 3 trades left, questionable. I'm not playing Marju this week. I'm also not playing McLean this week. So that's probably where my thinking's at. I think if you can get To'o in, regardless of whether it's against the Storm or not, I think it's a pretty nice play. I think he's going to be a top 4 centre wing for the next 4 weeks. So, yeah, I agree. And I'm assuming the next one is related to this. Play To'o this week or sit Eli Katoa. I don't know. Man, I'm on the fence with this now because Eli Katoa running at that edge that hasn't, like, it's Maverick Geyer. Like, yes, a good defender, good player, but he's not going to be used to playing next to these guys consistently week in, week out like Sorensen was. So maybe there's a hole there to run through.
Yeah, surely you have somebody else to sit instead of Eli Katoa after we've sort of uncovered him running at Maverick Geyer. I'm sort of now leaning towards maybe sitting Dylan Brown instead of Eli Katoa. But yeah, definitely play To'o this week, regardless. That you don't have 4 players in your team better than Brian To'o.
And also, William Warbrick has been very, very ordinary defensively this year. Yep. So I think, you want to exploit that matchup for sure. So, yeah, I'm all for that. The next one from Adam, mate. Guys, into the prelim in both head-to-head cashies and back into the top 1K. Well done. I have 3 trades left and not sure what to do with Walsh. So basically the question is, do I do Walsh to Turbo or Walsh to Teddy?
Can you just get the draw up for me?
I can do that for you, sir.
Sorry, I'm bossy. I could have done it myself. But
you got the too, don't you?
Yeah, I do. But when I have a look at those Roosters matchups, you go Parramatta into the Titans that have nothing to play for. Canberra's become a little bit of a harder matchup, probably since this all got done up, and then Souths. That, to me, is probably what I would rather attack than New Zealand, West Tigers, Bulldogs, and Sharks because of how good the Bulldogs and the Sharks have been. I'm confident owning both, but if I had to pick one, it's Teddy.
Yeah, I think I'm leaning towards that. I think Turbo has a bigger ceiling than Teddy, like I mentioned earlier in the show. But I think that the run home for Teddy is better than Manly. So, yeah, agreed. Brought the wrong question up. Captain Harry, what was your favourite Olympic moment? Or got to be bloody break. What's breakdancer's name?
Is that Ray Gun? I was a huge fan. They say she wasn't taking the piss, but she was electric. She was electric out there. I tell you what. So she's popped in, 36. She's a couple years older than me. She's looked across at all these talented breakdancers. She is an absolute stalwart of the breakdancing community. She has a PhD in this stuff. She's gone, I am not going to make it. I am going to go viral. I am, and she did. And I tell you what, the bunny hop, the kangaroo, the boomer kick, instead of spinning on your head because she physically cannot do it, putting your head on the ground and mole dancing around it in a circle, oh my God, she looked like me after 10 beers down at the local Royal at about 10:30 when I was 19. I tell you what, it was elite areas. It just has to be Ray Gun.
Yeah, we're here for Ray Gun, that's for sure. There's a lot of chat about her not earning a spot there and a bit of controversy. Who gives a fuck?
She's earned it more than anyone.
Yeah.
Stephen Bradbury won an Olympic gold. Just remember that. He was finished 8th and everybody else tripped over. And people treat him like he's a legend. Just because people don't understand breakdancing. If she made the final in the 100 and lost by 10 meters, people would be saying how great she was. She just basically lost this by 20.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Shout out to Ray Gun. Moment of the Olympics.
Big fan. I'd love to get something signed, Ray Gun, if you're listening. I know she's a big fan of the show.
She is. JD is asking, is Jerome Hughes to Sammy Walker or do we do Sasagi to Manu? I mean, fuck. If you still got Simi Sasagi and you can get him to Manu, that is probably the play that I would be doing.
That shouldn't have been a question, but yeah, young Joseph Manu at $570K a budget price now. That's probably why you can go Sasagi to Manu now. That's electric. Jerome Hughes can go great at any point. It will get rested at some stage, but yeah, look, Sammy Walker's probably a better play this week because he's going to get his hands on the ball against Leaky Parramatta. But yeah, Manu's going to be great all year. So
agreed. Lachlan asking who to put the last two reserves on: Hamoli, Katoa, Fainu, Plath, RTS, Iro, Marju. Okay, so those 7 guys, you've got to pick 2. I'm picking Hamoli for 1, and I'm picking Iro.
Yeah, Hamoli and Iro, 100%. Lock it in.
It's Hamoli, Iro, or Katoa is the way that I would go this week, I think.
Yeah, and I think I would go Hamoli and Iro. I've never for a second thought about not playing Iro after he's gone 3 80s, 80 pluses in a row and he's playing Newcastle.
Yeah, no, I agree. A bit of a change of pace, bit of an NBA question from Adam here for you, Mattrix. Who's top 3 picks in the NBA this year? The standard Jokic, Giannis, and Doncic is boring, and if you don't get a top 3 pick, you're always behind. What do you reckon?
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
I know what your answer's going to be.
Yeah, it's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Giddy's out of town. He's going to get his hands on the ball. Caruso's going to do a lot more of, I suppose, the defensive work. And if you remember looking at a James Harden when he plays when he played for Houston, did nothing defensively. And they're looking to take their best defender. With Jalen Williams and Caruso, Shea's going to be, getting the third... He's basically going to be defending their worst player out there. So he's going to be getting his hands in for steals. He's going to get a bump there. He's going to have his hands on the ball. He's been so good. They're just absolutely getting their hands on everything. OKC finished first. Like, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is the play. Of course, Jokic is my number 2 pick. I've got AD in my top 5 as well. I hate sort of starting to punt turnovers and free throws straight away by getting the donk. So yeah, it's actually Shea for me, and then Wemby at number 3 because I just value blocks so much when I play in 9 category leagues.
I drafted Doncic last year in a triple-double league, and I came 3rd, and I did have to punt free throws straight away. And I had to punt field goal percentage as well, which just wasn't ideal. But yeah, no, I agree. I probably agree. I like SGA. I drafted him in a couple of leagues last year, so I'm all for that.
I actually hope I don't have the first pick because I think I would take SGA. I would hope that I'm in one of those leagues that I could trade down because I'd probably try to trade down to 3rd because I know that I'm kind of on my own, or that people go super safe with a Jokic or whatever, which I understand going safe with your first pick. But if you tell me who I think is going to be the number 1 at the end of the year, it's SGA.
I think having Caruso in that team for OKC, being able to guard their best player week in, week out, means it just takes the pressure off SGA. So I like that. Getting those passing lane steals a bit more in the corner as well if he's guarding the worst player.
And we started seeing him become a top 5 fantasy player because they did that with Jalen Williams, and then they've just added somebody else. So Jalen Williams can just defend someone a bit better. He's going to be out there defending the KCPs in the world.
Yeah. So many passing lane steals to corner passes.
Stop it. I'm punching the bottom of my desk.
James Rhodes, we're back on track with NRL Supercoach Mattrix, but we're not, because you're asking, are you a Chargers fan and a Broncos fan? Follow the same team. Love that.
Yeah. Herbie, I tell you what, it is McConkey season.
Do you
Gus
want to
Edwards too?
Tell the people about the fact that you traded up with me just to get Gus and Herbert?
Yeah, I sold my soul to get Herbert. It was at 5.3 though in a 12-team league. So Herbert kept falling. I was playing Superflex, and I actually didn't have a. Herbert is my
QB1.
Herbert is my QB1. But I tell you what, I think that was a league where I went CeeDee Lamb. I've got A-Chain in the top 4 picks, the first 4 rounds as well. I've got Derrick Henry. Yeah, I was absolutely on a tear because people kept taking QBs. And Herbert fell. I sold my soul. I didn't have a 6th round pick after that. But anyway.
Yeah, I grabbed you 5th and 6th. Who did I end up getting? Deshaun Watson. I'm a big fan of a massage. So I went early on Deshaun Watson. And I think I got DK Metcalf as well in the 6th. So not overly upset about that. And we've got the NFL Maverick in the chat as well, saying that he doesn't rate your jersey, mate.
Oh, I tell you what, the beautiful blue, the sky blue even. I think these jerseys are great. And Royal's a bit darker. I've only got this in a Saquon jersey. But look, absolutely loving. I don't love the Chargers this year. We might get a really good pick. But I like that Deshaun pick because I would have been taking Deshaun had you taken Herbie.
Yes. Yeah, we had a chat about this before the trade was made. So, but for anybody who wants to get, I guess, their head around a little bit more NFL, the Maverick and Supercoach Guns are doing some great work with the Insight NFL show this year. So shout out to them. Mate, let's get back on track. Ian Johnson, this is his mixer team, which is Turbo and Surge's Boosted, DCE, Preston's Hale, and Brown. What are your thoughts here?
My problem is this is off NRL fantasy scoring, and Preston's base isn't great. Why I love Preston for Supercoach is because he can really find the line, and I think he might find the line in this matchup against the against the Dolphins. But yeah, I just can't get my head around Preston when you can pick anyone with no salary cap. So yeah, I would probably just be going at Crichton or somebody like that.
No, I love it. I love it, Ian. Preston is my pot of the week, so I'm with you. I'm all for it. Thomas King is Cotter to Crichton. I'm assuming Gus. Sideways? No, probably not with the try scoring upside from Gus.
Yep, I'm with you.
Queenslander guys, Galvin or Eli Katoa for last reserve? Whew, strong squad. I love Galvin against South.
I'm gonna. Oh fuck! Yeah, it's against South. I'm gonna go Eli Katoa up against Maverick Geyer.
Yeah, look, that's a really tough decision to make. I think we haven't helped you at all by telling you both options.
Yeah, cool.
But also pick the player on the better team. That's maybe the safest way to approach this, and just pick Eli Katoa. The pedigree's there. You know that he's sitting on Jerome Hughes's hip. Surely there's something that's going to come of that, mate. So as much as I'm reversing on what I just said, I think maybe you just got to go with the safer play. Grimesy, last question here. Dolphins to do a number on the Dogs this week? No, I don't think so. Not with. I know it's in Bundaberg and it's not really a home crowd, but it kind of is. I feel like the Dolphins' defense this year is the difference. And when you've got a team like the Dolphins relying on scoring mass points, I think they're going to get grinded out of this game personally. I think there's every chance that the Dolphins probably end up winning like a 28-16 kind of game. And the Dolphins are scoring points. Don't get me wrong. They're very capable of scoring 24 to 30 points against any team this year. They're very electric in attack, but it is their defense that hurts them. And when they're going to come up against a defensive-minded team like the Bulldogs, I think they're probably going to struggle personally. So what are your thoughts on that? Because I know you probably heard me there.
Yeah, absolutely no chance. The Dolphins can't beat the Dogs. The Dogs have been sensational defense-wise. And I know it's the old offense against defense, but yeah, I think St. George will be making the 8 and the Dolphins will not be. So.
And just a quick little easy one, JSW, take Drinkwater to Teddy and Iro to Lomax. I don't love trading Iro, but look, I traded him 3-4 weeks ago. That hurt me. Drinky to Teddy's a no-brainer, though.
And if I was trading Kale to anybody, it'd be Lomax.
Yeah. Or Toto. Those are the two trades I'd make at centre wing, to be fair.
I'm still backing in Lomax to score more points than Toto for the season because we know that there's going to be a rest there for Toto.
Yeah, there's every chance.
For Supercoach, it's Lomax for me.
Yep. No, very cool. Very cool. Guys, that brings us to the end. I think we've covered about 20 questions. Hopefully we've helped
20 sports.
Yeah, and 20 sports. Hopefully we'll help you with your week in not just NRL Supercoach, but NFL and NBA fantasy as well. Guys, if you want to join the free Discord, there's plenty of chat happening in there on all of those sports we've spoken about and much more. Remember to hit subscribe. And if you really want to go over and above, go over to Apple Podcasts or Spotify and leave us a 5-star review. We'd really appreciate that. We'll be back for the Inside Unlimited subscriber Q&A that'll come out tomorrow before the Thursday games this week. Before round 24, but a big week ahead. Hopefully some green arrows for you, mate. Any final words, Mattrix, before we wrap up?
No, I'm super excited to get back to Madden 25 that come out today.
Guys, that'll do us. We'll see you on Sunday for the wrap-up. Have a good one.
Cheerio.